Hello and welcome to this short webinar, Secrets to Running a Profitable Real Estate Business. And thank you so much for being here. This webinar and this little training here will take about 20 minutes, and I really do appreciate you taking time out. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I've worked with literally thousands of real estate agents, and this is a topic that keeps coming up. How can I work not longer and harder, but actually more sustainable and optimized and really move the needle in my business? So again, welcome and thank you for being here. Let me pull up my slides and then we will get started. Here we go. Before we dive into the presentation today, I just want to take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Marian Weiler, and I'm the owner and founder and principal at Weiler International. I consider myself a global citizen. I'm born and raised in Germany, moved to California in my early 20s for a position for a German company. And since then, I've lived and worked internationally and spent years in California, in New York, in Connecticut, in Hawaii, you name it. I've come around. I'm also a former corporate executive, and most recently, I was the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Business Development for a large affiliate of Sotheby's International Realty in New York, with $3.6 billion in sales volume and 26 locations. We had about 1,000 agents, and prior to this experience, I've been working up in Connecticut and Westchester County, overseeing about 2,200 agents. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I've worked with many amazing real estate professionals, and this is a topic that keeps coming up, which is the reason for this training. My passion is to work with executive teams, business owners, and real estate professionals in terms of managing their business, but also leadership development, and that is both during times of growth and crisis. And within that, we advise and guide brokerage firms in making their business more profitable. So with that, my area of expertise comes in optimizing real estate businesses and improving the results, but also identifying opportunities and solutions for growth while effectively managing organizational structures that are supporting that growth and that transformation. And all of these things have an impact, a positive impact on the profitability, especially looking at the return on investment and evaluating the initiatives that have the biggest return on investment, and looking at the cost centers and identifying efficiencies, and most importantly, eliminating redundancies becomes very critical here. And that is true for a large global firm in real estate as it is for a team or even an individual real estate agent's business. Looking at all of these areas will make a big difference in your business. This presentation and the coaching program specifically that I developed were born out of a need earlier this year. Many real estate professionals suffer from that idea that working longer and harder will grow their business. But nothing could be further from the truth. There is a better way, and that better way is optimizing your business and looking at every aspect of your business, not just your marketing or the way you run your business or the cost centers that you have or the revenue that's coming in, the clients you're dealing with. There's literally a way to optimize your business in every aspect there is, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that. But first, I want to share with you a success story, and I'm very grateful of my experience working with amazing real estate professionals, literally on a global scale. And that allowed me to get a deep understanding of the challenges and opportunities that real estate professionals face, especially during a disruptive moment in time and in an ever-changing world. But I'd like to share with you one recent example and what we've been working on. So with that, we went through the same 4 steps that we will cover here, but the brokerage was largely dealing with a few of the challenges, and you'll see them here on the screen. The big ones were increased competition. We were in the middle of a weakening and shifting real estate market, which I'm sure you were experiencing as well, some more, some less, depending on where you are. But we were also growing into new markets, and that left us with a financial strain and very little brand awareness in the new markets that we were in. But we also had an internal disconnect amongst our functional teams, meaning accounting, marketing, sales, all these teams that are supposed to be working together to make this a smooth process. There were a disconnect between those. And so that was one of the challenges we were dealing with. And then lastly, the outdated organizational processes and redundancies that were in place that were left unchecked. So those processes had a purpose and they worked when the organization was smaller, but as we grew, the processes and the systems didn't grow along with it. So that was a challenge, and we were looking for solutions to address those. So based on the same 4-step process we'll go over here, we developed these solutions that included, for one, making the internal processes more efficient and cost effective. But we were also attracting new customer groups, allowing for additional revenue. And part of that came from the new markets that we had, where primarily we had less families and more of an older generation as part of our clients. And partly that is because of the luxury nature of the business. But we were attracting more families into the suburban areas that were looking for the additional space for great schools and so on. Another solution was providing the value internally and externally. And specifically here, we're talking about customized marketing, being able to really portray a brand of an individual real estate agent and what they are all about. Because while they are all under the same brokerage, they each have their own identity, and that has to come through in the marketing and in the exposure that they're doing. But also digital lead generating solutions. Gone are the days where postcards are doing the trick. There were new ways to find new leads, to generate leads, to drive traffic to open houses, or to address new customer groups. And then also the organizational structure needed to be aligned with the company needs, meaning as we were growing, a lot of these functions were happening on the corporate side, but they had to be, parts of that had to be localized because each local market is different. The agents and the managers need that support on a local level. So we had to come up with a solution that was a healthy mix between centralized operations and localized support. Leveraging partnerships. There were a number of partnerships that were already existent that we never really leveraged as an organization. And part of that was reaching new clients, reaching new potential buyers, just finding new ways to spread the word, which in turn created more satisfied clients and more potential buyers coming in, but also new partnerships. As I mentioned, with the digital lead generation solutions, there are a lot of very innovative companies out there that we vetted as a corporate center and made available to our agent population. And then lastly, leveraging the market leadership for new markets. Some of our more established markets, we had a very, very large brand awareness. Everybody knew who we were, what we stood for, what our strengths are. But as we grew into newer markets, the brand awareness was not yet there. So that's the point we had to start, not where the brand image is already established, but creating and leveraging from that branding perspective and bringing that over into new markets. So these solutions led to results, and the big results of the initiatives that we've done were, for one, increased exposure and lead generation. So our listings received more exposure, and that of course brought in more leads for the agent population, and that in turn increased the satisfaction levels, not only on the agent side but also their clients. They saw how traffic increased, they realized how much more exposure their listing and their house was getting, and that's one thing that a lot of agents are experiencing. The clients are wondering, what are you doing for me? Where are you running an ad? How are you driving traffic to my house? And so having cost-effective ways and digital ways. For example, we were partnering up with Waze to drive more traffic to open houses. So that was a very innovative way to show listings and people that were driving by that perhaps weren't even looking for a house or were not out there to house hunt. They would see a pop-up ad and potentially drive over to see what that listing was all about. So the satisfaction levels were going up, and in turn, the agent retention and recruiting efforts were improved. So when you have a lot of agents that are happy and other agents are watching that, of course, from other brokerages, and they see what the company is doing, then that has a positive effect on the retention as well as the recruiting from a brokerage standpoint. But also increased operational effectiveness. And here we're talking about bigger margins, of course, increased profitability, but that clarity, that efficiency is improving the overall results, and not just from a tangible standpoint, but also from an intangible standpoint, where you're improving the motivation and the performance of everybody involved, including your employees, your agents, and your management team. So before we go into the 4 steps, the following points identify some of the most pressing common challenges that business owners and management teams have expressed to me and are faced with right now. And maybe you're dealing with some of these challenges as well in your business. So the first one here is finances in business have been negatively impacted, or they're on a downward trend and you're not sure how to turn it around. The second common challenge I've seen is you have a steady number of expenses, but your revenue is potentially less, or it's on a declining scale. And the third biggest common challenge is that your revenue producing services have lost on importance, or you're just not sure how to pivot your offering. You might have certain tools and resources, especially digital tools and resources, but you're not sure which ones are really moving the needle, how to work them, how to get the training that you need, and which one you should really spend your time on and learn in more depth. And if you see yourself in either of these scenarios, the information that we will cover here today will get you started in thinking in the right direction and assist you in getting back on track. So the goal here is that within each unique business and each unique situation, we need to identify the key areas that need addressing. We need to find the components that we need to evaluate, and then determine viable solutions that help us transition and ultimately transform our business. So as a first step, let's go into understanding why it's important to proactively manage your business. And you might think that's obvious, but we probably all have had moments where our strategy is hope and just wanted to wait it all out or go back to what it was. And unfortunately, the reality is that rarely ever does either one of those strategies prove to be an effective strategy. And I think we can agree on that. There is power in proactively dealing with what we're faced with, however difficult that might seem. And when making that decision to take charge of a situation, we actually move forward in a constructive way. So there's never a better time to take inventory and face reality than when you realize that your business is struggling, or it's not sustainable, or it's not growing at the pace that you would like it to grow and expand, because it means that you can get back on track and succeed by addressing it. And sweeping your problems under the rug won't improve your situation or business either, but dealing with them proactively will. So to give you an example from my own life to illustrate this point, I want to take you back a few years and share with you an experience that set the tone for my own financial health habits. I grew up in a middle-class family in Germany, and my father was a breadwinner for the family of four, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And when I was a little girl, I always watched my mom balancing the checkbook, and it was so obvious at the end of that process whether or not there was anything left to put away into an emergency fund, or to do anything fun like a vacation or whatnot. And that was so intriguing to me to watch them do this, that I actually made that part of my own financial health, to balance my checkbook and really stay on top of my finances. And especially during times of transition, for example, when I decided to pursue a graduate degree in the US, effectively managing my finances literally became the deciding factor whether or not I could make my dreams and plans a reality. So when balancing my finances, it was a rigorous process, because for a long time there was little room for any out of the norm expenses. And at times there wasn't even enough coming in to cover the expenses and obligations. But every time I balanced my finances, it became apparent at that point how much, if anything, was left at the end of the month. And this is mutually applicable in business. When times are good, we don't have to watch finances so carefully, but if they are tight, or if we are in a disruptive time, we have to take inventory and face those realities. So why and how is having a budget and effectively budgeting critically important in your business? It gives you a vital understanding of what's coming in and what's going out, so you can effectively manage your finances. But most importantly, it uncovers whether you're running a business that's sustainable in the long run and is prepared to deal with disruption and crisis. And I've seen many times when businesses have not paid close attention, or have not had a up-to-date budget, to see what are we actually spending the money on. Is it moving the needle? Are those cost centers or expenses that perhaps somebody put in place that is no longer with the company, or perhaps it made sense 6 months from now, but it doesn't really do anything for the business in a positive way now? So not only that, but when you're trying to understand the why, consider this. If you don't have a budget, you create volatility, and that causes fear and anxiety. And I personally found that fear is a very bad financial advisor. So as soon as you make the decision to take charge of your situation, you move from a place of being victimized to external circumstances to actually moving forward in a constructive way. So ask yourself, do you have a budget in place? And if so, what does it look like? Is it up to date? And what are your financial health habits that you established over time? Really analyze them and find out how you are managing your finances and the money that is coming in and the money that is going out. And look at what needs to be dealt with and what's your current situation that needs addressing most urgently. The more you give to what you can control, the less energy you have for what you do control. So please keep in mind here, focus on what's in your control. Which leads us to step number 2. Step number 2 is taking inventory of your finances. And the main question here is what's coming in and what is going out. Taking inventory of your finances allows you to determine the potential cost reduction necessary. When taking inventory of your finances, ask yourself, what are your revenue sources? And don't simply think of terms of sales or commissions, but do you have dividends? Do you have rental income or any other revenue sources that you can include? And if your revenue has declined significantly, then review your assets and emergency funds, such as savings, credit lines, etc., to determine what resources that you can easily access, liquidate, or turn into a revenue stream. Also, now looking at the expense side, not all expenses should be treated the same. Some are a must and critical to your success, while others have very little to no influence over your results and your impact. So ask yourself, what are the expenses that you cannot eliminate or reduce, and what expenses are a must? On the other hand, what non-essential expenses can you cut easily? Those that do little or nothing to make your business a success. So we put a check mark behind uncovering your existing expenses. So now it's the time to look for opportunities to actually create income or additional revenue streams, which leads me to step number 3, identifying solutions. You don't want to get stuck in these initial 2 steps where I consider more of a crisis management mode, but you want to move into how do you actually create solutions? How do you transform your offering? And how are you turning things around? So the question here is, how are you going to do this? And let me just say up front, don't be afraid to ask for help and involve experts inside and outside of your organization for help. Because sometimes you don't see things that a business coach is seeing. And I think we all have had that experience before where we don't see the picture when we are in the frame. So you don't have to have all the answers, but you just have to find the right answer, even if that is with help outside or inside of your organization. And there are a couple of questions you can ask yourself to discover your unique reality and the solutions to what you're faced with. Some key questions here to ask yourself in this discovery phase for solutions are, first, looking what's already in the pipeline. What services do you currently offer that you can transform or expand? But also, how can you remarket your services in order to meet a current need for your clients? And there again, think remote, think virtual, online, digital. Your brokerage is probably having some solutions there for you. Or if you run your own brokerage, you might have partners that you can tap into that have a certain level of expertise in an area that they're focused on that is not your core business. So the last question here is, and how are you currently delivering your services? Because with a changing environment, perhaps there is a way to adjust your delivery that would spike your revenues. So those are all things that you can dive into and ask yourself to find solutions to what you're dealing with currently. Additional questions to ask yourself in this discovery phase are my services as relevant as they've been in the past? And I believe a lot of real estate agents are asking themselves exactly that question. And when you're looking at the relevance of your services, you don't want to miss actually looking for your ideal client and getting crystal clear on who that ideal client is. And you might ask now, well, why does that matter, right? I have a lot of different clients, I have a very broad client base, and I like it that way. But by analyzing your ideal most client, you actually have an opportunity to find the solutions to their biggest pain points and challenges in a way that you can't do if your client base is too broad. This will help you not only build a raving fan base, but it creates loyalty and a profitable repeat and referral business. And you can also be much, much more targeted in your marketing, which at the end of the day is also saving you marketing dollars, because if you're going too broad, you're only reaching a very small client base, and oftentimes they don't even really feel spoken to because your messaging is too broad. So ask yourself, who are your ideal and most loyal clients? And then treat these clients like gold. As I said before, they not only are your most critically important clients, but they're also a source for referral business, which I consider the single best way to expand and grow your business cost effectively. So now that we've looked at what's coming in, going out, but also identified viable solutions for your business, we can move to step number 4, which is a critical one on a long-term basis. I can only stress that point, can stress that enough, because it's not something that you do one time and then you put it to the side and you decide it's optimized and it's good. I have a plan for the next 5 years, never have to look at that again. But this is something that happens ongoingly. You literally want to optimize your business inside and out, every aspect of it, and understand what are your goals so you can actually plan ahead and you can plan to reach those goals. Otherwise, it is you don't have your goal or your vision in mind. And you might get there eventually, but not in a cost-effective way. So with that, when we're looking at that step number 4, optimizing and planning ahead to support your future growth, here are the key takeaways. Committing to optimizing your business operations will not only allow you to run your business more cost effectively, but there's so many other benefits to this. Part of those are creating bigger margins, gaining more control, gaining more focus, gaining more clarity. And part of that literally protects your well-being, your health, and your sanity. And that is a challenge for many real estate professionals that are always on the go, that have more things to do than hours in the day, and are constantly running behind to-do lists from one client and pleasing everybody around them. So optimizing your business is a key to your sustainability, to your growth, and to your overall success of your real estate business. So now let's talk about optimizing and effectively planning a little bit more detailed. Let me take you back in time again. I shared with you that when I was a young adult, I decided to pursue my MBA in the States, and the cost of living was significantly higher than it was in Germany. And actually, to make matters worse, as an international student, I was not permitted to work in order to support myself financially. So I knew I had to plan ahead and really prepare myself and save up enough money in advance so I could go through this 2-year program. And planning ahead saved me. But what was probably even more important is that during these 2 years, I became so good in leveraging and optimizing my resources. And I'm here to tell you there are always ways that you can leverage what you have, the resources you have, whether that is time or that is money or it is relationships or partnerships, you name it. There's a way to optimize it and a way to really get creative with the resources that you have available to you. So here are the key lessons that I learned. Not everything is in our control. So be prepared for situations you can't control, but also be agile about it. And remember, Focus on what you can control. There's so many times that we're so focused on the things that we have absolutely no influence over, or we're dwelling over what's happening to us, but neither one actually helps us. So making sure that you focus on the areas within your control, and also taking time to appreciate what's going well or the progress that you're making along the way, are so critically important. Another key lesson I learned is that when times improve or during good times, this is the time to really optimize, to plan ahead, to build a security for yourself so you are prepared when times change. And we all have the seasons of life. There's winter, and then there's spring, and then there's summer and fall. And right now it feels a little bit more like a winter, but the fall, the spring and the summer will come at some point. So when you are in those times where things are good, that is the time to really get prepared. And right now is the time to optimize and leverage what you have and really effectively manage and run your business. And you'll be grateful that you did when you're faced with these realities. Because don't underestimate the peace of mind that actually comes from building up your savings or your securities when times are good. And most importantly here, I've also learned that there's always a better way to leverage what you have when you start getting creative with your resources. And when you put your focus on those things that move the needle and what's critically important. So when looking at optimizing and sustainably managing and planning for your business, go back to the foundation and analyze your unique strengths. Build those up and look at your points of differentiation, because you don't want to be like every other agent around. You have certain strengths, you have points that make you different, you have character traits or skills that only you do have. So take a look at those and then use your resources so you can connect with what's truly critical and true for your unique situation. And with that, ask yourself, why did you start your business? What were your dreams and what were your aspirations? Chances are that perhaps you got so busy that you haven't really thought about it, that you don't even remember at times why you started your business, because the challenges have taken over, or you were just trying to stay on top of everything that is going on. But then also look at your strengths and what do you do exceptionally well, and build up on those instead of focusing on your weaknesses and trying to make those better. Really build out your strength, because chances are that not only are you exceptionally good at certain things, but that is also what brings you joy, and that will come through in your work, it will come through with your clients, and it will make you feel so much better. And considering that opportunity cost, what if you were to focus on those areas of your strength and actually allow for help in other areas? And that comes with so many benefits, because not only do you have an accountability partner, but you have somebody, a trusted advisor by your side that can actually help you navigate through that and focus on the initiatives that have the biggest impact on your business success. Ask yourself, do the systems, the processes, the things, how you're running them in your business that you have in place meet current requirements within your industry? And do they actually actively support the growth that you're looking for? And if the answer is no, then we need to take a look at the systems, at the processes, and the things that you do in your business and align them. And sometimes there are very little small adjustments, small alignments that make a big difference. But also, what's your current organizational structure? How does it support your long-term goals? And that again depends on the size of your organization, or if you're running your own individual real estate business, or if you run a team or an office or a brokerage. So those are things that we need to look at. And again, sometimes little tweaks, little adjustments make a big difference. So laser focus your time, your energy, and your resources, and then turn everything into your overall plan and be intentional about it instead of reactionary. And that's something that I've seen many, many times at different brokerages, probably more so than not, that it's very reactionary. Things happen, and I get it, and I understand clients have demands and they want certain things and things change, but being more intentional, being more proactive versus reactive will actually get you back in the driver's seat, and optimizing your business is leading you towards that goal. So we're coming to the end of this mini training, but you might wonder if there's a next level resource to help you work your way through this and determine solutions that are solutions for your most pressing problems based on your individual situations and needs. And I alluded to this 4-step coaching program that I developed. It's an online coaching program, a do-it-yourself type of resource that is a guide and helps you in that discovery of what the solutions are for you. And I alluded to it in the beginning of my presentation, but I would be honored to be of help here to you and get your business back on track. You find more information about this program on my website at weilerinternational.com, and the URL is right here. It's /running profitable RE business. But you will find it when you go under programs on the weilerinternational.com website. There's a little bit more information about what to expect in this program. And there are other resources as well. And if you would like to speak to me and have a little consult and see where you're at and how there might be other ways that I can help you outside of the online program, please sign up for a 30-minute complimentary consult, also on my website, weilerinternational.com. And with that, thank you again so much for your time today. Please follow us on LinkedIn for insights, news, and updates. And I look forward to speaking to all of you again soon. Thank you.